In this video, I want to share with you how I use stop loss orders. Stop loss orders are, of course, a type of order you place with a broker to either buy or sell a security once it hits a certain price. For those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Jared Ayers. I am a CFA charter holder. I have been at this investing thing for about 20 years now, done pretty well for myself, and have created this channel to share with anyone who's interested how I think about investing in the markets. So before I talk about how I use stop loss orders, I want to talk about why I use stop loss orders, or why anyone might consider using this risk mitigation technique. Basically, I use stop loss orders to protect myself from myself. As many of you out there who invest for yourselves probably have observed, I know I am probably the biggest risk to my own success. So that's the primary reason why I use them. As an example, if you lose 50% of a position due to a drop that you didn't or weren't able to get out of, you have to obviously earn 100% of that same position back just to get back to even. And so I generally like to set my stop losses at no more than 20%. And even then, that still means I'd have to earn 25% back in order to get back to even. So it's still a significant amount, but not nearly as much as if you lost 50% or more. So a couple of situations when I will consider using stop loss orders. As I've mentioned in the past, I like to use stop losses often in smaller cap companies. So these are companies that still meet my threshold, which is $50 million total market cap, but are on the smaller side and therefore have less ability to withstand major blows, and whose stock prices will often crater quite quickly on the back of negative news. So sometimes what I like to do is put a stop loss in on those, even if it's a trailing stop loss, and then if something goes wrong and the stock price comes down very heavily, then at least I am out of the position while I'm analyzing whether or not I want to get back into it. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. The other situation, other than just being purely small cap, is if there is any sort of hesitation or questionability in terms of a name that I hold. And I'll give you a blue chip example that's that's fairly recent, and that is Facebook. So after the Cambridge Analytica scandal in, I guess it was around March 2018, I had previously purchased Facebook in sort of early February of the same year with a market correction that made the stock quite attractive. But on the back of the Cambridge Analytica scandal, obviously hadn't reported results following that scandal, so I put a trailing stop loss on that position just because I didn't know necessarily how big or wide-reaching that was going to become in terms of affecting Facebook's business. So that's another example of, when something comes up that to me raises red flags and maybe puts into question whether or not the reasons I purchased the position in the first place are still valid, then that's another time when I will consider using a stop loss. Now, to be clear, stop losses, that is, are one tool in the toolkit in terms of risk mitigation. They don't always work. So in that same example of Facebook, when I purchased it in February 2018, the scandal occurred in March of 2018, and then later on, once the stock recovered back to my purchase price, I did put a trailing stop loss on it. The stock continued to go up through May, June, and into July, and then when the company actually reported their results, I believe it was the evening of July 25th, so the stock was around, I think, 217.50. Then the results were released and they missed expectations big time, and more damagingly reported that the guidance was also not going to be what they had previously thought, due to privacy concerns, extra spending they were going to have to incur to beef up their internal systems. So in one night, basically, as it could be seen in the after hours trading, my trailing stop loss became useless because the stock gapped down, which means it dropped down suddenly below my actual order price for my stop loss. So it rendered it useless. So what I then decided to do, as the sort of, if you know, moving forward, the stock actually did open up at about 174.89. My stop loss order would have been in the mid 180s, around 184. So in the evening hours of July 25th, I removed my stop loss order, and knowing that the company was likely going to open up well below my order, but was likely also going to bounce. So when news like that happens, there's often a very panicked sell-off, and I was just decided to be a little bit more patient and let the stock come back up. So it came back up to about the $180 mark, after which I exited the position, just basically on the basis that I just needed to see more. I didn't quite know the full impact, and sometimes not knowing is enough of a reason to exit a position as well. So that's another case of when stop losses don't work, and you kind of have to step in and make a call yourself. But that's, of course, something you can do when you don't have a massive portfolio of stocks, which is one of the reasons I do hold a fairly concentrated portfolio, so that I can follow the names that I hold very closely as well, so I can track issues and opportunities as they arise. So that is my brief video on stop loss orders, how I use them and why I use them. Hopefully you found some of that useful. If you do like the video, then please do hit the like button. If you're new to my channel and you'd like to see more of this type of content, please hit the subscribe button. If you do want to make suggestions about future topics, please hit me in the comment section as well. And if you want to share with me your techniques for mitigating losses, including stop losses, and your strategies, I'd love to hear about them as well. So until next time, thank you very much for watching.